Welcome to Arkansas Wildlife. On the weekend after Thanksgiving each year, Stuttgart comes alive to celebrate all things duck hunting at the Wings Over the Prairie Festival and World Championship Duck Calling Contest. We're going to take this opportunity to look at the history of Arkansas duck hunting and check in with one of the authors of Arkansas Duck Hunter's Almanac, Steve Bowman. But first, this is also the time of year that the Game and Fish Commission starts stocking rainbow trout in family and community fishing program ponds all across the state. All that and this week's winner of a free hunting and fishing license right after this break. Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less.
Family community fishing program actually is an avenue for people that live inside cities to have a closer opportunity to go and fish. We have close to 40 locations around the state. In the warmer months, we stock catfish. We do 4 stockings of catfish, and then when it get cooler, starting in November, we start stocking trout. And we do 4 stockings of trout at these 40 locations around the state.
Here at McCarthy Park, 2017 trout season. Let's get it kicked off. See how my babies are doing in here. Oh yeah, they're ready. Hello everybody. Look like you're doing good, doing well. Everybody's ready to catch you guys. They've been calling all week. There you go.
It takes about 1.5 years to grow a rainbow trout. The hatchery is actually located on the tip of Missouri, on the state line, and it takes about 3 hours to bring them here to Little Rock. So it's a major task, major feat, because you got to realize trout aren't native to Arkansas. I mean, it's a cold water fish. It has to be at least 55 degrees water temperatures. Normally when we stock them in November, our last stocking's in February, so people generally catch them all out before it starts warming up. We actually do community fishing events at our locations, and that's just to basically promote it, bring awareness to the program so people know, hey, that's a place I can go and fish after the event. It's pretty successful. Some of our events bring upwards of over 1,000 people, and we do about 25 or more of them a year. We actually have incentives. You know, if you catch one of our tagged catfish or one of our tagged rainbow trout, we've given away as much as a boat, motor, and trailer for one of the as one grand prize.
There we go. Pretty cool, huh?
This is the tag. This is the tag for the trout. It's a pink tag. Now with the catfish, they're green. This small tag has a phone number on there, and of course, the name of our program, Family Community Fishing Program. But generally, if you catch a rainbow trout or catfish, you just mail the tag in to us, not the fish, just the tag, and you're gonna get a prize. But again, at the end of the season, you'll be drawn from a grand prize, which can be anything from a trip on up to like a boat, motor, and trailer. You want to go to our website, agfc.com, and there's information on the website on what we stock. We generally stock once a month when the weather permits for trout, and then of course for catfish when it's warmer. Some of our family community fishing program ponds are restricted only to seniors and children under age 16. Again, you want to go to our website and get that list of locations. But generally, for the general public, you keep up to 5 rainbow trout, and then again, only 3 catfish. With the rainbow trout, you have to have a trout permit. That goes along with the regular fishing license fee. But again, if you're under age 16, you do not have to have a license.
Got your back down? 1, 2, 3, go! All right, man!
He's been talking about fishing since he was 2 years old. And we decided today, since the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission had this wonderful event today, we thought, yes, we said we're going to bring him out, and we want a fishing pole.
The parents bring the children out. A lot of these events that we do, community fishing events, have free food, door prizes. Of course, we have music, games, and whatnot. Watching a child bring in his first fish, it's like a light that goes off. You know, the child actually made a connection to what's in the water and what he actually captured. It actually builds their self-esteem. Kids are excited. I mean, you got to see it to believe it.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Arkansas's own PK Grills, maker of the new PK 360, the best and last grill you'll ever buy. Here in Arkansas, duck hunting is more than its name implies. It's not simply about ducks or hunting. It's much more than that.
Duck hunting is an emotional thing for me. I mean, I have been emotional in a duck hunt. I've been ecstatic. I've been sad. I guess it's just a metaphor for life for me in a lot of ways.
I think it's just such a part of the culture. It's so culturally acceptable to be a duck hunter.
The threads of duck hunting are woven throughout the tapestry of Arkansas history. But what's the attraction to duck hunting all about? How can a duck make someone forsake sleep to slog through boot-sucking mud and stand for hours in near-freezing water? How can a mallard or pintail or green-winged teal inspire someone to suffer numb toes and fingers? Are duck hunters crazy?
We're just a bunch of old dudes just wanting to see a sunrise with some waterfowl involved in it. We all stop and just kind of catch our breath when we see that first movements of ducks right in front of us. You know, it's just like, so I don't know. What is it to me? It's me. It's everything to me, and it's important.
Part of the attraction of duck hunting is surely its transient nature. Unlike many species of wildlife, ducks are just temporary Arkansas residents, passing through on their way to more southern latitudes or setting up residency here for just the coldest part of the winter. They travel thousands of miles from their places of birth in the northern U.S. and Canada, surviving against long odds. And when things work out just right, we're afforded the opportunity to marvel at the spectacle of the annual migration with our own eyes for a brief moment in time.
I can't imagine not having duck hunting in my life. And more than that, I can't imagine not having Arkansas duck hunting in my life.
Duck hunting has played a critical role in the lives of many Arkansans, and by extension, Arkansas history. Nowhere is that history better and more accurately summarized than in Arkansas Duck Hunter's Almanac, a book considered Arkansas duck hunting's ultimate resource by many of the state's waterfowlers. veteran outdoor writers Steve Bowman and Steve Wright co-wrote the book, which was spawned largely by a desire to pass on the stories of an older generation of duck hunters.
There were a lot of 70 and 80-year-old hunters in that, back in the 90s that were passing on, that they were taking a lot of historical events with them that most people didn't really realize were there. Duck hunters are innately tied to nostalgia, so that was just something that was really cool for us to sit down and start digging into. I wanted those stories told, and I wanted people to realize how important duck hunting has been to the history of Arkansas.
Modern Arkansas hunters take their duck hunting seriously, but their passion pales compared to the battle for hunting rights between commercial market hunters and recreational hunters at Northeast Arkansas's Big Lake in the early 20th century.
Basically, gun-toting, people shooting each other, battles in the duck woods at the turn of the 1900s for the opportunity to see who gets to shoot what ducks. And they're each hiring their own set of gunfighters. And this is an Arkansas historical fact. There were people who were killed and shot every day during a time when the ducks, because there really wasn't a whole lot about the seasons then, but when the ducks were here. And to see who was going to kill a duck and put it in a barrel to be shipped to a restaurant in Chicago or Memphis, as opposed to who was going to go out there and enjoy a morning that we've all come to love, seeing ducks fall through timber and shoot what we are going to eat.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. Support wildlife and conservation education in the natural state. Become a member today. Long before rice farming or the presence of artificially flooded forests known as green tree reservoirs, the ducks have come to Arkansas. The natural state includes nearly a third of the 24 million acres of the Mississippi Delta, a flood-prone area that has provided food and habitat for waterfowl since before human history.
The whole pattern of mallards migrating to these areas, truly at the bottom of a funnel. You think about geologically how all these rivers come together in East Arkansas. And even coming from the east. A lot of people don't think about that as much. They think about the Arkansas and the Mississippi and converging, and the White and the Black and the Cache and Landgill and all these sorts of rivers. But there's a lot of stuff coming in from the east too, out of Tennessee and the Ohio River Valley. All this stuff is converging right in the delta of Arkansas, and hence the great history of duck hunting.
We've always had this natural flooding taking place before we ever started farming for rice, before we ever started building levees, putting up stock log structures, et cetera, et cetera. The water was here, ducks always came.
Although much of the state's historic bottomland hardwood forests were lost to the saw and the plow, Arkansas still retains some of the Mississippi Delta's largest tracts of these unique habitats. And in the 1930s, by happy accident, Arkansans figured out that artificially flooded forests also were duck magnets. When farmers started building levees around tracts of woods to hold water for irrigation, the ducks flocked to them in incredible numbers.
They'd see these bottoms would flood, the ducks would get to go in them, they'd have great hunting, and human nature leads you to want to replicate that more often than just that once every few years.
The combination of naturally flooded bottomlands and manipulated green tree reservoirs has made Arkansas a destination for duck hunters from across the country and around the world, because there's nothing like the natural state's green timber duck hunting anywhere else.
You hear people talk about different sorts of timber hunting. I've heard people refer to timber hunting in all sorts of different woods that aren't really anything like the true timber hunting in Arkansas. It is something completely unique. It's not available on this scale really anywhere else in the world.
Come to Arkansas, you're going to get to see ducks falling through the timber, where most people don't ever get to see that, where they just pops and they respond so well, and they just drop at your feet, and it's just like, it's like being in a duck hunter's heaven.
I think in one of our permit databases, we had 43 different states represented in one season coming to Arkansas to duck hunt. That's pretty phenomenal. I don't think many other states could boast that.
Today's duck hunters owe a debt of gratitude to conservationists of another era who had the foresight to protect land that many people considered useless. Shortly after the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission was established by Amendment 35 to the Arkansas Constitution in 1944, men such as Trustin Holder embarked on a campaign to buy lands that would become such hallowed duck hunting places as Biomeda WMA.
And we can spend a lot of time talking about, well, Arkansas has always been the place for ducks to go. It'll always be a place for ducks to go. Supposedly, it'll always be a place for ducks to go. What would have happened? We wouldn't have had Biomeda. What would have happened if we would have allowed the White River National Wildlife Refuge to not be there? What would have happened if Black River wasn't there? Incredible foresight. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it was almost like describing it in a way of, you know, hey, I'm going to go over here and save this part of Arkansas, because eventually that's where all the aliens are going to land. That's about how crazy it had to sound. But Trustin Holder was dedicated to that. And, you know, if it hadn't have occurred, 1970s rolled around and $10 bushel soybeans rolled around, and it was wholesale cut trees.
The conservation of Arkansas's natural wetlands reached another important crossroads in the early 1970s, when the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers embarked on a plan to channelize the Cache River. But in one of the natural state's most important conservation success stories, a duck hunting dentist named Rex Hancock started a grassroots campaign to halt the destruction. He triumphed against long odds and preserved one of the most important waterfowl wintering areas in the world.
As far as conservation milestones go, you're talking about when you cut the heart of the melon out, you've got a shriveled up piece of rind. And Black Swamp, the Cache River itself, you cut that out, then we lose, as waterfowlers in Arkansas, the most important aspect of the whole season. Every duck hunter in the Mississippi Flyway benefits with the Cache River being there. Every duck hunter in Arkansas obviously benefits, but every person in Arkansas who doesn't duck hunt benefits from that, not only from an environmental standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. How much would we have lost? We'd be driving to Missouri to duck hunt. And that can't be understated. We would be driving somewhere else to recapture some of those nostalgic moments that tie us all together here in Arkansas.
Perhaps nostalgia is a good way to explain the historical significance of duck hunting in Arkansas.
You know, it seems like it's a place where a whole lot of the old traditions are still here.
I'll have a 20-something-year-old in my blind. I'll tell him what it was like 20-something years ago before he was born. But I've been in that blind as a 20-something-year-old, and I've heard those stories from 30 and 40 and 50 and 100 years prior, and it's just, there's just a romance to it.
I think there's several newer, younger generations of duck hunters coming on the scene now. So there have been some changes, but I think at the heart of it all, it's still this old-time culture of long-time history of duck hunting.
Arkansas Wildlife presents the Watch and Win giveaway. During each episode of Arkansas Wildlife, we'll give away an Arkansas resident hunting and fishing license, a $35.50 value provided by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Visit the Arkansas Wildlife webpage at arkansaswildlife.com and click on the Watch and Win icon to enter. This week's winner is Tom Post from Russellville. Congratulations and thanks for watching. Arkansas Wildlife TV isn't the only way to learn more about outdoor recreation and conservation in the natural state. The award-winning Arkansas Wildlife magazine can be delivered to your mailbox for just $12 a year. A subscription consists of 6 bi-monthly issues, including the popular Arkansas Wildlife Calendar. Get yours today.